And actually, before I introduce for our appointment this evening, I'd like to take a moment to thank RPC for hosting this virtual meeting for us. And hopefully we can be back to normal maybe in October or November and actually see each other in person in the selectmen's room. So thank you very much, Tim. I really do appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Our appointment tonight is with Noah Slovan of Malone and McBroom consultants to the Hampton Beach Master Plan, one of the components of the Hampton Beach Master Plan. And in that introduction, Noah, we are really not familiar with your company. So could you kind of give us an overview as you begin your introduction about your work? Thank you.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me this evening. Yeah, so I work for Malone and McBroom. We are a New England-based firm that works on civil engineering, design, planning. I'm probably missing some things. Landscape architecture. One of these kind of multi. I can't think of the word, firms. We work on a wide range of things. I've been with Malone McBroom for about 4 and a little bit years. I think I actually just started my 5th year in September this month. And I primarily work on a variety of planning projects, such as coastal resiliency planning, hazard mitigation planning, and other types of community planning projects. Also working on this project with me at Malone and McBroom primarily is Dave Murphy, who's not here tonight. He's been at Malone and McBroom for many years. I'm not sure of the number, and he has a lot of experience working on those types of plans, as well as on master planning work. And I'll just say, yeah.
Are you a small firm?
We have been a small firm. We actually recently, as this project has progressed, we ended up merging with another firm, but that I'm not sure exactly of the status of that, in terms of, like, we're still Malone and McBroom even though we've merged with this other company. But yes, within Malone and McBroom there are about 200 people around New England. I work out of the New Hampshire office, which is over in Bedford, although I live in Somerville outside of Boston.
Wow. How's the drive? How's the drive over there? Are you working from home?
It's better now. Yeah.
Well, glad to have you with us this evening. So I'll let you proceed with your.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, let me know if you have more questions. I'm not used to kind of pitching Malone and McBroom, so sorry if I missed any key information you want to know. Yeah, so I'm here tonight. I am planning to give kind of a general overview of this project, where we are and where we're going, including touching a little bit on some of the information that we've kind of been digesting from the public feedback that we've gotten so far. All of our public engagement and public input efforts are all still ongoing, so there's still opportunities to collect more information. But I'll share what we've found so far, and hopefully, I think, you know, to kind of frame the goal of my visit tonight is to give the context and give some of what we've been learning in order to give you an opportunity to kind of think about what you as a commission want to specifically say about the master plan vision and coastal content, which we can then have I'm pretty sure I can say that the plan is to have a follow-up meeting at some point to have a more in-depth discussion, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Am I able to share my screen? I am. I'm going to try sharing my screen and let me know if you can see that. So how about thumbs up if you can see? Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up. Great. So I'm going to start off just with a brief overview of where this project fits in the overall master plan update. Jason is better at giving all the details of this. I actually have what he wrote for our workshop, which I'll kind of run through summarizing. So as many of you probably already are aware, the last comprehensive update of the Hampton Master Plan was in 1985. There have been some chapter updates since that time. The planning board has initiated the current process and established a steering committee consisting of the full planning board, members of other town boards and committees, and resident representatives to guide the development of the master plan update. This first phase of the project is being completed by us, Mylena McBroom, and it's funded by a NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration grant awarded to the New Hampshire DES coastal program, which is funding the coastal content as well as the vision component. And so that this current phase, we're just looking at the master plan vision and the master plan coastal content. There will be a second phase of the comprehensive master plan update that incorporates this phase one work while developing content for additional master plan components such as land use, transportation, recreation, economic development, and cultural and historical resources. And phase two has been funded as a result of voter approval of Article 10 at the March 2020 town meeting. At the end of phase two, the overall planning process, which is expected in around December of 2022, and following adoption of the plan by the planning board, Hampton will have a fully updated comprehensive master plan. So right now we're working on just phase one, the vision and coastal content, and that's what I'll talk to you a bit about right now. How we're kind of viewing this, the visioning is going to be a set of statements that is intended to shape Hampton's unique identity and guide future growth for the town. And coastal resilience is the focus of the coastal management chapter, and that is building the capacity of the community to thrive under a changing climate. Let's see what I have next here. Okay, right. So I just want to give a kind of overview of this specific project schedule. You have the overall project for the master plan. This schedule is just for this phase one of the project. Don't worry about all the details here, but on the left is the different tasks that go into the project, and across the right is the schedule, and the lightly blue shaded squares are where we'll reach all those different, when we'll be working on those different tasks over the course of the year and next year. So we're here in September, and we've been working on this task one, project management, facilitation, and coordination. That goes through the whole project. We've done a data compilation and review, looking at information and reports and studies that are relevant to the project, and making sure that we're consistent with those and learning from work that's already been done. And then this summer public outreach and participation effort that has been ongoing, beginning back in April. We identified stakeholders and community champions in order to help us spread the word and let people know about this process that's underway. We've developed our online presence and put out information on social media. There's an online survey again that opened. I'm actually not sure exactly when it opened, but it continues to be open, and we've been running some planning events and we'll continue to do so, and I'll talk about that in more detail on the next slide. So we're approaching now, we're kind of beginning to digest all this information from the public outreach and use that to create a draft master plan vision. I'll say right here at the end of September, it says vision content completed. I just want to add draft on top of that. The draft vision content will be completed, and then there will be opportunities for public input into that vision content. So when I
When
say
will that be released? No, I don't mean to interrupt.
yeah, no, feel free. And I should say that to everybody. If anybody needs to interrupt, feel free. So we've developed kind of an initial stab at the vision content, and we're working with the master plan steering committee now to edit that. So I don't have a exact date, but I think in the next couple of weeks. Sorry, there's a motorcycle nearby. I don't know if people are hearing that. In the next couple of weeks, we should have a draft vision ready, and it's really, we have to kind of figure out with the steering committee when they're ready to have us let other people start seeing that and commenting on it.
Okay.
But the intention here will definitely be that we'll have a draft vision that then we can provide to you to give us some written feedback on it. And then we're really just beginning now the coastal management content. And so we're taking information that we're learning from the public outreach, and then we're also from the data compilation and review that we did of previous studies about coastal hazards and coastal dynamics, of sediment dynamics around the area. So we're going to begin to turn that into the coastal chapter for the master plan starting now. Any other questions about this or the overall schedule and context so far?
Any questions of any of the commissioners? Raise your hand if you do.
I'm going to get into more detail on the public outreach on the next slides. So, okay.
Guess not. Go ahead.
I'll hop forward. Great. So this is my presentation of all of the different public participation initiatives that we're trying to build into this planning process. So we've identified community champions and stakeholders. These are various individuals or groups or commissions that have a vested interest in the future of Hampton, and we've been reaching out. We've identified them and worked on contacting them and connecting with them in order to encourage them to then to participate in the planning process and the public participation process, and also to let all of their members or their constituents, their customers. Some of these community champions we've identified are local businesses, just to help them get the word out there, know what's going on, and make sure that they are able to have their voices heard. We've done a poster and sign campaign. I don't know if any of you have seen these around town. There are some lawn signs that are up with a phone number that you can send a text message to. And there are a few posters around town with some information about the plan. This effort was done really because COVID-19 made all of the in-person programming that we wanted to do no longer possible. And so instead of having everything be virtual and remote, we wanted to kind of try to be in person as much as the situation allows. And so we have posters and signs that are in town where people go to hopefully raise awareness. As I said, there's a phone number people can send texts to. So this text message campaign, just any thoughts that people have about the master plan vision or coastal content, they can send a text to, and we record that information. There's an online public survey with a variety of specific questions, both kind of multiple choice questions and open-ended questions that people can tell us what they think. And that's really the most comprehensive method of public input that we have out there. It really has a variety of different specific questions to really get people thinking about the different aspects of the vision and coastal content. We've held 2 virtual workshops about the vision and coastal content earlier this month, nope, last month in August. And that's what we've done so far. The community champion and stakeholder communication continues to happen. Posters and signs are still up. Text message campaign is still ongoing, and the public survey is still active online. So these are all still ongoing public participation opportunities. We will be closing.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Public online where? Public online where? So everyone knows so that they can share that information.
Yes, that's a great question. So you can find it through the town website, and I can also I'll send a link. I don't have it up on this presentation, but I can send a link to the chat to the specific the public survey. We have a link to the project website, which is hosted by the Town of Hampton website. I think it's, well, anyways, I won't bother guessing. I'll just make sure I copy and paste it afterwards. And through that town website, you can access the public survey. And there's also a direct link to the public survey. Both of them are designed to be relatively easy to remember, but I'll post those. Or potentially Natalie is posting them. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, and I guess while we're talking about the online public survey, I should clarify, I know there's been some confusion. There was a public survey that went out earlier this year, I think like between January and April approximately. Anne, who's on, actually probably knows the exact dates. And that collected a lot of really great information. We are looking at that also for this plan, but this is a separate additional survey. So even if people have already taken that initial survey back at the beginning of the year, they are encouraged to take this survey as well. Moving forward, the other public input opportunities that we have planned. This fall, we'll be doing a number of focus groups, and the details of that are still being worked out with the master plan steering committee in terms of how many focus groups and who those focus groups will be including. I don't know if after I'm done, if Jason or Natalie want to chime in on that topic at all. But there should be an opportunity for you all to participate in a focus group. So once the focus group is done, that'll really close the initial public input period, and then we'll be using all that information to build the vision and the coastal management chapter content. Once the drafts of those are done, there will be a workshop to kind of work through the draft material and get input and feedback on the drafts. There'll also be, it'll be posted online, and there'll be an opportunity for input to be given online into those drafts. And then once that second round of public participation is complete, we'll turn it into final products, and there will be a presentation of the final products that'll be in February or March, I believe, of this coming year. And then that will conclude this first phase 1 of the master plan update. Phase 2 will begin after that based on this information, and there will be a whole new set of opportunities for public participation in those later, that later phase of the master plan update.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners? Raise your hand, or thoughts or ideas, or okay.
I think Barbara is raising her hand. she's muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Noah, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Just kind of for disclosure, so to speak, several of us on this call are part of the Master Plan Steering Committee too. So it's really good to have this extra session that, you know, where we can hear your process and goals. I guess my question, and I almost don't know how to ask it, but what I hear is that you're accumulating a lot of information from, let's just say, from the community that you're going to put together in a format that is will look forward. But I'm kind of wondering, you guys, your firm, you guys are the professionals and the experts in, well, let's just say visioning, which involves the entire town, and the coastal management, which involves an area that is quite extensive when you get right down to what are the parameters of Hampton Beach. So I'm kind of wondering that after you assemble all this information in your final product, what do you envision, what's the contribution of your firm's expertise that will help us look forward to several decades?
Yeah,
How does that get, in other words, what's it gonna, what are those two chapters gonna look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So what we will do, you know, we compile all this information, and it is a lot of information and input about different people's ideas and perspectives and experiences with Hampton, both in terms of what they see as their vision for the community, as well as their concerns and wants related to coastal management and coastal hazards. So that's useful for us to get an idea of where the community wants to go and what the community kind of wants its identity to be like in the future. In terms of our contribution, right? Like we're not just going to present a chapter that lists everything that people said, right? We have to actually add our own expertise and experience into it as well. So, you know, for the vision content, that'll be I can't think of a better word than really digesting all this input into a kind of coherent and constructive set of vision statements that we think will be productive in getting the community where it wants to go into the future. In terms of the coastal content, that will be more heavily, I think, shaped by our own experience and expertise. We'll be looking at best practices that we know of in terms of coastal management, working with Natalie and DES to look at projections for what the future climate will hold for us, and figuring out how to make the community resilient and sustainable into the future. I would say, you know, what we are able to extract from public input in terms of coastal resilience and coastal management is trying to dig deeper into what it is that people value in their community and what they are willing to or interested in pursuing for coastal management on kind of a deeper level, a base level, and then we will, on top of that, put the more specifics of, okay, how do we achieve these goals of what people want to see for the community. And I can get a little bit more specific. My next slides here, I do have more slides, sorry, are brief summaries of some of what we've been hearing so far. And I don't know if that'll help put some specifics on what I'm talking about. Does that help? Should I go through these?
That answer your question, Barbara?
I guess this is just a comment, Noah, and I speak just for myself and my peculiar way of looking at things. In determining what the community wants, to me, we need guidance from you, that is your firm, your professional expertise, the science and so on, as to what is feasible before that's just part of what we have to consider when we kind of rank what our hopes are or our goals. Looking, as I've said before, looking towards actually 2050. So I just make that as a statement, and perhaps others can phrase it better, or please feel free to knock me down on this stuff. But I'm kind of looking for that and hope that that's what we find in a finished chapter.
Yeah, that will be what's in a finished chapter. It's true. There's a little bit of maybe chicken and egg in terms of we're collecting information, we're collecting public input into what people want to see before telling them what we think is feasible, which I hear that as being a potential challenge. But I think when we're collecting input from people, we're trying to get, what do they like about living on the coast? What do they want the future to look like in terms of the community, in terms of the jobs, the economy, habitat, things like that. And then based on that, we can say, okay, here are the ways that we recommend you move forward in order to reach that future. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if it does.
Well, yeah, I would just have one comment to add, and then love to see the rest of your program or hear other comments from other people. I think a focus is, for me, I speak only for myself now, a focus is, what are the challenges? How do we address the challenges? For example, in coastal communities, and actually in terms of the overall community. And that's where we need that's where we need the professional guidance as to how to deal with that before deciding, what the series of steps would be. So that's just I don't know if that helps you, but that's just thanks for the opportunity to kind of express that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, Noah, you can go on.
Okay, great. So I'll walk through, some of the feedback that we've been getting. There's a few different slides, and first of all, it's all preliminary in terms of, we're still receiving more feedback, so we might hear more things. And it's not a kind of comprehensive representation of everything we've been hearing, but I'll just give you an idea of some of what we've been hearing. one of the things I envision as an outcome of sharing this information is to help you think about what you see missing from what we're hearing so far that you want to make sure we hear from you, or things that we are hearing that you want to make sure you stress as you agree with that input. These first slides, these aren't these are the undigested. This is kind of a visualization of some of the things that we've been hearing from people. This was a question on the public online survey. What are some keywords that you want to see included in a vision? And the size of the text is based on the number of people who said this word or a word that was related to it. So kind of a quick takeaway from this is people want the community or the vision to include something about a safe community, a family-focused community. People are interested in the environment and the history, a healthy community. This is just kind of visualization of what kind of data we're working with. And I'll go through kind of what we're taking out of it in a couple more slides. I'll run through these relatively quickly. If you want to see them again, I can go back to them. We asked people what's their vision for Hampton's future. People talk about walkable community, a more happening downtown area, limits on development, families there again, things like that. We asked people where are areas of concern in terms of coastal hazards specifically. And this is a incomplete map. I've noticed that some of these points didn't get mapped correctly, but you can see, and you already know that there's areas all up and down the coast that see various types of coastal hazard concerns, and people are pointing them all out. So that's also some of the information that we're collecting is where are these hazards. We asked what people's big ideas for resiliency are, for coastal resiliency, and some of what we heard are limiting development, beach maintenance, conservation. There's concern about sea level rise and flooding, and also a fair number of comments about overcrowding and concerns about visitor management, which I'll get into in the later slides. So that's just kind of a quick overview of what it kind of looks like from our end as we're collecting this information. So I've started going through and extracting some patterns and themes from all this input so far. So I'll start with the vision. Some of the input that we've gotten relevant to the vision is that there's interest in the town center being a kind of classic New England village-like town center. Hampton Beach being family friendly and it's seen as kind of the energetic center of town. There's a lot happening, a lot going on there. North Beach is really valued by many residents as a kind of quieter, more resident focused beach that people can go to. There's interest in improving the connections between the town center and the different beaches. And by that, I mean the physical connections, the ability to travel between them. Related to that, improved walkability and bikeability throughout town, architectural standards and consistency. These aren't necessarily the words people are using, but these are the patterns I'm taking out. People want the design of different buildings to be consistent and look certain ways. There's a lot of love of the local small businesses and a desire for a stronger year-round economy. And people love the small town feel of Hampton and want to maintain that in the future. So these are some of the takeaways we've seen for the vision. In terms of coastal resilience concerns, this isn't necessarily anything new, but there are concerns about flooding for areas along the marsh, erosion along the beach, drainage issues. People are concerned about water quality and pollution, although that's not I'll clarify in terms of water quality and pollution, there wasn't a lot of feedback that there's poor water quality and pollution. It's just for the future, people want to make sure that that's maintained, that the water quality is maintained. And then there's some concern about sea level rise. And then we asked about coastal resilience strategies, and I don't know if this kind of touches back on what we were talking about just before, but this question isn't about specific strategies, but kind of what do you look for in a coastal resilient project? If the town is undertaking some projects, what are you looking for in that project? So there's interest in the projects being long lasting. You know, people aren't interested in quick fixes. Protecting and restoring coastal habitats and ecosystems, so projects that support those ecosystems, projects that are unobtrusive and visually appealing. So I would interpret that as being people aren't interested in kind of big walls or anything like that. They want kind of softer, greener approaches. And there's a lot of interest in using the town's regulations and codes to create a community that is more resilient. So building codes and regulations about where you're allowed to build and how. And then there's also interest in the town incentivizing or helping residents or businesses take their own actions. And then bringing in state and federal funding for local projects. And that's, you know, that's a real power of these funding and grant opportunities that are out there, that you can bring funding in from the federal government or the state government to do projects that will bring money into the town. Let me just see how many. Okay, so I just have a couple more slides I'll get through. Some of the specific projects people mentioned were nourishing dunes and beaches, improving drainage systems, strengthening coastal utility infrastructure. So that would be the roads, the power and water and things like that. Again, regulations, toughening regulations on construction and conservation and preservation of habitats and ecosystems. And this last slide, I don't have a specific category for them yet, but kind of other issues relevant to coastal management that I've noticed coming up in these feedback. There's a lot of interest in the visitor populations and visitor management. People love that people want to come visit Hampton, and also there's some concern about the number of visitors and whether they're or how visitors are behaving. There are concerns about development and how development is occurring and where and what it looks like. Traffic, people don't like traffic. That's a fairly simple one. And making sure that the community is a safe community, year-round economy that came up before, and then beach accessibility, both in terms of where are the beach access areas and how are the stairs to the beach and things like that. And also there have been some feedback about handicap accessibility of the beach areas. So this is some of what we heard, and we will be, trying to turn that into a vision statement and incorporating it into our coastal management chapter as well. That was a lot of information that I just went through there. Any other questions about that or comments?
Any questions of the commissioners? Any ideas, suggestions, or input that you'd like to throw out there right now? Well, I think if you're going to have visitors, you're going to have traffic. But
Yeah, I see Robert has his hand up. Sorry.
Have you made any attempt to connect this to the engineering study that's just been reviewed by the town?
Yes. Yeah. So other people at Mylona McBroom actually are working on the Meadow Pond engineering. I think this is what you're talking about, the Meadow Pond.
Meadow Pond and the back streets at the center
Right.
of the beach.
Yeah, so we're going to be definitely taking the information that they're finding and putting that into the coastal management chapter for sure. That'll be, we have direct access to all of that.
Other questions?
I don't know if my hand is raised.
Oh.
Hit the button. Just a quick thing, is there any talk of busing or transportation to and from the beach to have off-site parking where people could be shuttled in and out?
Yes, we've gotten that feedback from a number of people. Interest in having buses or trolleys that bring people to the beaches from the town center or from some other offsite parking. Exactly that suggestion. Yeah, that's come up. Great. And if people have other comments, if you think of them now, I'm happy to hear them now, but also you can contact me later. I'll put my contact information on the next slide, but just to kind of summarize other ways that you can help us if you're interested. Participating in the online survey is definitely helpful. In addition, I kind of pulled out a few of the key topics that we've been seeing people talk about. And if you want to think about your perspectives as a commission and come up with some specific ideas that you want to send over in writing, or not in writing, you can think of those and send them to me. And hopefully at a future focus group, we'll be able to talk in more detail about what your specific ideas and input is.
I would like to mention one thing. As I sit here tonight, the noise from motorcycles going by is deafening. Before I even started, I had to explain to two people that there were motorcycles going by when I was talking on the phone. And I live here at the beach, and I don't see anything here mentioning any kind of noise, which I think as the beach becomes more developed with these high-end condos, it's going to be a major complaint that comes rapidly. There's already people that live here now complaining about it. It's very, very noisy, and there'd be, if there was some way to control the noise, it would go a long way to making things a lot better than the way they are today.
Yeah, thanks. I hear you. I had motorcycles driving by my house.
Yeah, I noticed
earlier.
you said that. The same thing's happening here.
Yeah.
And this is in the city.
Yeah, I will say, sorry, I didn't get it on here, but we have heard a bit about people wanting a quiet area by the
Quiet
beach.
time to go with the ocean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we are getting that feedback, don't worry. But yes, thank you also. And let me just turn to the next slide. Sorry, people can keep talking, but here's my contact information if anybody wants to send me an email or give me a phone call.
Well, thank you for that presentation, Noah. Any other commissioner have any comment or question that they would like to put out before I say mine? Okay, well, raise your hand and you can stop me if you want. I guess the thing that concerns me the most, and I'm really hopeful that it will be taken care of with the reconstruction of 1A, is a lot of the flooding and how are we going to protect our businesses? And are we going to look to require new construction to accommodate the increase in precipitation and sea level rise and storm surge and all of that? Those are some of the, I mean, are we going to be able to have a beach in 2050? Or are we not going to have anything? That's what disturbs me the most, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep,
I think you will be able to have a beach in 2050. But yeah, that's definitely going to be a focus of, I mean, yeah, that's dare I say, the purpose of the coastal management chapter is to figure out how to make sure that you can still have a beach in 2050. Well, in 2100 even, 2050 I think you'll be good. But yeah, we'll be considering those kinds of requirements. I'm not sure what we'll include yet, but yeah.
Okay, is there any other commissioner that wants to speak, or otherwise I would say you're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but thank you very much for coming, and I hope that we're in communication with you going forward too, because I think if the commissioners have time to think about it, I would urge them all to go online and take that survey, and we are willing to work with you in any way we can to make sure that we still have the economy at the beach, we still have residential places, and that we can maintain a beach.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important why we have at least two of the agencies that sit on this commission, both transportation and parks. I mean, they play a huge role in what's going on at the beach. So, and do a great job, by the way, I will say that. Okay, thank you, Noah, and we will move on to the rest of our agenda, if it's okay. If anyone has any objections, speak now. And we will go with the adoption of the June 25th minutes. I know Ann sent them all out to you today, and I think we sent them out to you right after the meeting in June as well. So if anyone has any corrections or not, I would take a motion.
I'll make that motion to move the minutes.
I'll second it.
I think I have to do a roll call. So let's do the roll call as we started, which was with Barbara Kravitz.
Yes.
Bob Ladd.
Just go like this.
Bob.
Yes.
Bill Watson.
Yes.
Rick Griffin.
Yes.
Chuck Rage.
I think I have to abstain. I think I missed that meeting.
Okay, you did. Mike Husband.
Abstain.
Vice Chair Dean Merrill.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you very much. Okay, the next thing is the treasurer's report. Can you present that for us, Mike?
Yep. Yeah, we currently have a balance of $6,635.79.
Okay, thank you very much. That is accepted as a report. And then we'll go to old business. And I wanted to add the fact that I did send a letter to the RPC in support of continuing to put Route 1A and the bridge, maintain them on the 10-year transportation plan, and to increase the amount of money in the reconstruction, so that we take the reconstruction all the way back to the bridge. If you remember that meeting that was held, I think many of you were there, at the beach, the park that Parks held. We spoke quite strongly with then Councilor Prescott about the engineering going from High Street to the bridge, and then we can peel away at it pieces at a time if we have to, but rather than just engineer for a short distance, to do it for the whole thing, so that we'd know where we're going and what's needed as we go along. So I sent a letter of encouragement and support of both of those things. And then the other piece that I did add was about the rail corridor from Seabrook, Hampton Falls up to Drakeside and Hampton, and that's across the marsh. And really that's got to be Bill, you're welcome to speak up on this, but that's really got to be the responsibility of the Department of Transportation, because it has to be maintained for future rail if it were to come back. But because of the requirements of DES and all of the others to maintain but not obstruct, I mean, to me, that's got to be a whole state piece. Would you agree, Bill?
I don't know that I can speak to it right now, Nancy. We haven't seen it as a formal request from anyone. I can say, generally speaking, the Department of Transportation does not manage or maintain rail trails.
I know that, but they are responsible for the underlayment of it. They, you know, the structure of it. They are responsible for that, I believe.
It depends on who is owning that trail and for what use it's being used.
Well,
So and I've listened to the Rockingham TAC meeting, some of it this morning, and if one of the priorities that comes forward is the development of the East Coast Greenway as a rail trail, I do not believe the department is going to be interested in owning and managing that section of the Greenway.
but if anything going across the marsh would have to be done by DOT, wouldn't it?
No.
Why wouldn't it? I mean,
Why would it?
If it's the state's responsibility to make sure that a railway is available in the future.
It is not the state's responsibility.
That isn't what I've heard for the last 4 years.
I can go back and look and see if it's our responsibility, but there are hundreds of miles of rail lines that we do not own that are not our responsibility to ensure that the possibility for rail can still exist. That is the responsibility of those that are managing and using the trail. And most of those agreements are through the Rails and Trails Bureau over at Natural and Cultural Resources.
Mike, do you want to speak up on any of this? Can you?
I can look into it. I really couldn't tonight,
Yeah.
but I can follow up.
I know at several meetings that I have been at, it has said that even on the other rails, the understructure of it, this remains the responsibility of the state to maintain a corridor for rail.
I mean, I can check with the Trails Bureau manages our rail trails.
Uh-huh.
I can check in.
And I can look further as well. If that's the intent, if there's a $4 to $6 million project that the region is expecting the department to be entirely responsible for, then there needs to be formal conversation with the department sooner than later, Nancy. And that I don't believe has happened.
Okay. All right.
I'm not supposed to be here technically, but can I jump in?
Sure.
Bill, it is an eligible federal aid project, is it not? To
Oh,
build
absolutely.
up?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we're purchasing much of that corridor already. Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the department is going to be responsible for developing, managing, implementing any project along that corridor.
Correct. Okay.
Who is the person at the department now that is charged with that responsibility of information?
Can you ask the question again, Nancy? I'm sorry,
Who
with the
is-
clock in the background.
Who is the person at the Department of Transportation that is responsible for the trails?
We don't
I don't
have
mean
a
responsible, but
we
information.
don't have an individual responsible for trails at the department.
What happened to the guy that I worked with for years? Is he no longer there? I can't even think of his name today.
We have Patrick Hurley. He is the director of Aeronautics, Rail, and Transit. So as it relates to active rail lines, and as it relates to selling rail corridors to others, and working out management agreements with natural and cultural resources, Patrick has some oversight, but we don't have an active trails manager. We
Was
don't
Patrick
have,
still in?
Yes.
He's the one that dealt with all of the rail discussions and rail trail discussions that I had for 4 years.
yes, he's still there and he's still involved in that, but that doesn't mean that the department is actively involved in trail ownership or maintenance.
I know it's not involved in maintenance, but I have understood from Patrick several times that, you know, going across the marsh, that it would be the state's responsibility to make sure that that was maintained because of the two agencies would be having to work together. DES and DOT would have to be working together to maintain that as available for rail. I mean, if the rail wanted to come back in tomorrow, whose responsibility would it be to make sure that that was available?
So when in other areas between, say, Hampton and Portsmouth, where we just spent millions of dollars to buy Pan Am Railway corridor, the responsibility becomes part of the person, the organization that is using and responsible for maintaining that trail system to pull up whatever trail is there so that the rail can be actively used again. The improvements to a rail corridor, the rail bed improvements, ballast ties, etc., that's a whole different conversation to actually bring rail service back in. It's a federally eligible activity.
So especially in the marsh area, I mean, you're not going to get your friends of the rail trail to go out in the middle of the marsh and do stuff, I don't think.
Well, I can only speak that it's happening in other areas of the state, maybe not on rail trails, but there are trails happening in Concord, that there are Friends of the Merrimack River rail greenways that are doing exactly that right now. They are designing and building trails through marshes.
Well, then picking up on what Tim had said, the availability of using federal money, that would be a possibility to take federal dollars and initially build it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And in fact, that's one of the priorities that I think the Rockingham Planning Commission TAC was discussing. I know that's what they were discussing this morning, and I think that is a top priority that TAC is interested in moving forward for consideration by their full commission, by the full MPO.
Great. Well,
that conversation will take place on October 14th at our MPO meeting, and that project was the top priority that's being brought forward to the full commission for consideration. So
we need to be there and speak in support. I need to be there and speak in support, or no?
You're welcome to. It's always good to have public speak in support of these projects if there's interest.
Yeah. Because I think that's a big connector, you know.
So the only other piece I'll offer for you, Nancy, and this has really nothing to do with the question you initially asked, but as a project that would be competing for federal funds, it's going to be competing with Ocean Boulevard, and it's going to be competing with other projects that are also priorities for the Beach Commission. It may be in our best interest at some point in time to determine what our best priorities are as a Beach Commission.
Well, I understand that they were supposed to get infrastructure money. Maybe they'll increase the amount.
That's not going to happen anytime soon in Congress. We're hoping to get spending through December 11th. Never mind more money for a long term.
Okay, thank you. Well, I won't give up Route 1A for the rail trail, but I want both. How's that?
Fair enough.
Okay. After the letter.
Chuck has his hand up. Sorry.
I'm just curious. We were going strong and gung ho with the bridge and the plans and everything else. And we had meetings in Seabrook and Hampton. And since COVID, I haven't seen or heard very much about it. I was wondering if you know anything.
You talking to me?
Yes, I am.
anyone else can pipe in. You do, I don't know if you're aware that the individual that was doing all the organization of the advocacy group, she passed away. And so they put a new person in, and I have been in touch with her a couple of times. She did have one meeting, I think it was with Northampton, I think it was. No, it was Rye. It was the Rye Bridge. It was the Rye Bridge. And she said that we're going to have one in October, maybe. So I'll reach out to her tomorrow, Chuck, and let you know if I hear anything. And Bill, can you add anything to that?
Sorry, I'm struggling with technology here. No, I don't have any more updates. I know that the design hasn't slowed down. I think that the visibility of the project we've had difficulty with it just because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I know that the work is continuing, Chuck. It is not slowing down.
Okay, I will. As a matter of fact, I'll just send it back to everybody on the commission, what I learned tomorrow when I talk with her. Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Chuck. Anything else on under old business? I just wanted to give you an update on the grant that we applied for, but if there is anyone else that has anything else, I would take that first because it kind of continues on to our new business. Anyone else have anything under old business? Okay. Well, let me tell you what happened to us in the grant. I just want to say that talking with Natalie and Kirsten both have been very helpful to me in that process. But they had many applications in for that particular grant, and we were not successful. Not because we didn't do a decent job of putting in for it, but because they didn't have enough, there wasn't enough money to go around for everybody, and they had to make choices. And it ended up, I think they ended up just granting 3 of the applications. But the future is not gone. So if I can move directly to new business, I would like to tell you that I've had conversation with Kirsten, and she tells me that there is a possibility for us to move forward in another way as a bridge to the next step of getting our work done. And that is that DES Coastal Program can potentially offer us $4,000 for HVAC staff assistance to advance the efforts to fund the master plan update focused on coastal resiliency and the environmental elements. So they would take, they would get $4,000 and have a consultant come and work with us on moving us forward. And one of the suggestions that, let me just say that Barbara and Ann and I had this conversation with Kirsten, and one of the suggestions that came up was to have a symposium bringing together all of the different groups that have been working on. I mean, you see the different reports that came out from Shea and from the Coastal Risk and Hazards Commission, and there's probably 6 or 7 different groups that have been working on coastal issues, and there's a need for all of that information to be put together someplace. And so we thought if we could host a symposium and invite all of those people, well, at least all of the groups, representation from those groups in, and to talk about how they all can mesh together, or what pieces of it mesh together, that it would be a very beneficial thing. And it would be important to recognize all of the work that has been done. So that's one of the things that this $4,000 might be able to do, is to help support something like that. And then the information that is gathered from that, this consultant could potentially help us move to additional funding to move forward with our own master plan. And Natalie Morrison is still here with us, is she? Is Natalie still with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. Please step in if you would like at any moment to further clarify what I've been trying to mumble out here.
You're doing a
and
great
explain
job.
to them- and explain to them what has been offered to us. And I would like to hear from the commissioners to see if this is something that you would like to consider. It will not cost the commission any money at all. The $4,000 will come without any need for a match. And we won't even need to make an application for it. So I guess I would like to know from commissioners how you feel about this. Do you think this is something that we might want to move forward with? And if so, ask your questions, please.
Anytime there's free money, I'm for it.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's a great opportunity for to try to find a place for all of this to come together, and I think that's what we said we were trying to do when we move forward with in the master plan is not to put into effect anything that was going to contradict something else that was already going on out there. So if we can just gather that, hear from those people, maybe this consultant can help us put together a piece that includes stuff that wouldn't be contradictory to what it is that we want to do. I mean, we'll have a chance still to make our own decision about how we want to move forward with our own master plan, but it should not be in conflict with what the town is doing. And I think it's an important time. Right now would be a perfect time to bring all of that together before Noah finishes the work that he's doing. So what do you think?
I would agree because, we spent all that time working on the beach master plan and we don't want them to contradict each other either, so.
Anyone else? Bob?
Yep.
You
There
out
are
there?
so many subgroups working on like or similar issues. It makes a lot of sense to bring them together so that they don't come at this from positions that contradict each other or compete with each other. And it would need to be refined to be presented in a way the public would be interested in it.
Okay,
Great.
Mike or
Barbara.
Bill?
No, I'm good.
It was Barbara had a question.
Barbara?
Sorry, it's really a comment to extend what's been said. There are so many, there are more than a handful of groups, agencies, consulting or whatever, who are, I'm going to say it in a rather crude way, who are playing in the same sandbox. And it really is, from our point of view, from the commission point of view, it really is, it's really needed to know who's doing what with whom and when, and how that all plays into our development of the master plan, of the commission master plan that we have been trying to put forward. So it just makes a lot of sense.
Natalie, do you want to add anything or clarify anything, or? is there
Sure.
any-
I'll just clarify a couple of things, Nancy. So the symposium, I think, is a great idea and definitely something that this consultant could help you with. And in addition to that, that consultant could also help you identify funding opportunities that would be a good match for funding the environment section of your Hampton Beach Area Master Plan. And in addition to identifying those funding opportunities, actually help you take the proposal that you submitted to the Coastal Programs Coastal Resilience Grant and retool it to meet the requirements of whatever funding opportunity that you're going to be applying for, as well as incorporate all of the information that you learn from the symposium. So I think those are the services that they'd be able to offer you for that $4,000 price tag. So I think that's all I'll add in terms of clarification. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have anything else.
Anyone have questions for Natalie? Everyone's stuck in the house with COVID, I think, and they're just.
Again, I'm not here as a participant, Nancy, but the subject matter certainly pertains to a lot of the work we do at RPC.
Right.
And I can tell you that the commission has a real vested interest in a similar issue, in that developing a regional framework for coastal resilience that takes all this good work that's being done in Hampton and around the seacoast, and making sure that all the communities are benefiting from that. So I think there's a lot of even separate conversations about symposiums and bringing people together and developing broader frameworks for this subject. So this opportunity might be a good place not only to talk about the benefits to Hampton, but even, beyond.
Well, I think we all agree that, Hampton can't do anything by itself, or Seabrook or Rye or anything else, because one may impact the other. So it's got to be a coastal thing that we're looking at. So bringing all of these groups together, I think, may give us that insight of what's really there, and how that might work into what we are doing. So if no one has any questions, can I get permission of the commission to move forward with this offer and have Barbara, Ann, and I meet with Kirsten and Natalie, or whoever Kirsten determines should be in the conversation, with maybe the possible consultant, to iron out the scope of the work that should be done at no cost to the Hampton Beach Area Commission under this $4,000 offer, and then revisit any future endeavors.
I would make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
You got that, Ann? All right, we'll take a roll call vote, beginning with Barbara
Yes.
and Bob Ladd,
Yes.
Bill Watson,
Yes.
Rick Griffin. Rick?
He's muted. He said yes.
Did he leave us?
No, I said yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill Watson, Mike Hausman,
Yes.
Chuck Rage,
Yes.
Dean Merrill,
Yes.
and I, Nancy, vote yes as well, so that's unanimous. So Barbara and Ann will get together to talk to Kirsten and get a conversation going about exactly what would happen, when it would happen, and how it would happen, and what the scope of the work for that wonderful offer is going to be. Other questions of the commissioners? If not, I would just like to say thank you to Ann for the tremendous amount of work that she put into helping us organize that grant. She worked with Barbara and myself in the language. She took the input that both of us gave her and pulled it all together in a fantastic way. And she's worthy of every penny that we ever pay her. So I would like to say thank you, Ann.
Thank
you, Nancy. I just unmuted myself because I need to know who made a second to Barbara's motion.
I did, Rick.
Aye, Rick. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing that I would like to ask
Okay.
is I don't really know that much about it, but I was reading about it, that there's a $38.5 million grant that they just got at the University of New Hampshire that's all about the flood mapping and things like that. And it said that the University of New Hampshire led the way for mapping. There's more being done in this area than any other place, and they just received this $38.5 million at the university. And I was just wondering if there's been any mention of things that have to do with that.
Well, Natalie, do you have any information on that?
I'm not familiar with the grant that Rick is referencing.
It's from Jean Shaheen. She was instrumental in getting it. So maybe that's something that we need to investigate.
Well, I can call the office tomorrow and inquire.
Yeah, I saw it mentioned several times in the news, so I just thought I would throw that out there.
38 million, you said?
$38.5 million was, I believe, given to the University of New Hampshire for the flood mapping programs. And they talked about how they really lead the way in this area for it.
Okay. I will share that information if I get any information back from the senator's office tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey, Nancy, I just Googled it, and so I'll post the link to the Seacoast Online article in the chat for you guys.
Oh, great.
It came up right away.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I wasn't aware of that. I appreciate the intel.
Okay.
So I have a question. Have the flood maps been approved yet? That have been out for the last couple of years that we've been waiting for? The new flood maps?
Yes. So, and Tim might have the exact date off the tip of his tongue, but the coastal mapping project was approved, and I believe the maps will become effective this coming January. Is that correct, Tim?
Is correct, and there's information coming out from the Office of Strategic Initiatives now, to make sure each town has their ordinances updated so they're consistent with the new mapping. So, Jason, we can reach out to you if you haven't seen that yet, but we can make sure that you're all set to go.
Yeah, I have seen it. We've already started working on it a little bit. We're going to have to update our site plan and subdivision regulations, and I believe perhaps a zoning amendment as well. We've been discussing that. I know there's a series of webinars that are coming up. I think the first one's next week about that, so we'll be on those. So, and then I'm sure we'll be in communication with RPC as well. So, yeah, we're working on it.
Jason, are those maps available in town office?
I believe that they're still listed as preliminary, and I think they're on the website, if I'm not mistaken. I will double check that for you. The town's website under planning. I'm sorry. Yes.
All right, thank you.
I'll double check that though.
Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome.
Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Chuck. Do I have a second?
Second, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Tim, do I have to do a roll call on that too?
Technically, yes, but you as the chair, I think, are also eligible to just adjourn the meeting without a motion. So
Well, I have a motion on the floor, so I do have a motion on the floor, and I get upset when other people have motions on the floor and they don't do anything with them. So I will take a roll call on that. Barbara?
Yes.
Bob Ladd?
Yes.
Bill Watson?
Yes.
Rick Griffin?
Yes, and thanks to our host.
Yes. Chuck Rage?
Yes.
Mike Hausman?
Yes.
Dean Merrill?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So thank you very much. And thank you again to Tim for hosting this. It's been great to see faces. Maybe next time we can actually see each other in person and actually fist pump or something. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right.